chamber to the people. Let the voices ring. Laws are made. Debates take the wing.
I know we are going to be reposed with responsibilities.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Watch the Senate and the House of Representatives, where decisions flow. The Parliament, the place to know. The Parliament, see power at play. The Parliament, your window into democracy at work, only on Global Television. Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies from the chambers of the National Assembly to the voices shaping Nigeria's democratic journey. Welcome once again. I am Anieti Patrick. Each week, we bring you the latest decisions, debates, and developments from the heart of the legislature, the bills shaping national policy, the motions addressing citizens' concern, and the oversight actions holding the government accountable. The National Assembly resumed plenary after resting its sitting to attend to budget defense from the different ministries, departments, and agencies of government to a sad report of their colleagues' demise. The House of Representatives suspended plenary to honor the late Rivers lawmaker, Senator Barry Nada Bingi, who passed away in February at the age of 64. The move came as the National Assembly resumed from its budget defense break, with lawmakers pausing legislative business to reflect on the contributions of the late senator to national development. Plenary at the House of Representatives was briefly halted Tuesday as lawmakers paid tribute to the late Rivers State Senator Barry Nada Bingi. The late lawmaker represented Rivers Southeast Senatorial District until his death in February 2026 at the age of 64. Members described his passing as a significant loss to Rivers State and the National Assembly, noting his commitment to legislative advocacy and regional development. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, commiserated with the family of the deceased, the government, and the people of Rivers State, saying the late senator was widely respected for his dedication to public service and contributions to national discourse.
Honorable colleagues, the sudden passing of Dr. Chamberlain at 54 years of age reminds us of the fragility of life. He was in the prime of his life, full of energy, full of plans, and full of hope. His sudden departure calls us to reflect on the brevity of human existence and the importance of the legacy we leave behind. Positions, titles, and offices are temporary. What endures are the relationships we build, the kindness we show, and the institutions we strengthen. Dr. Chamberlain left behind a legacy of friendship, humility, loyalty, and service. Like every human being, he was not perfect. None of us is. I therefore humbly request that all who knew him forgive any shortcomings he may have had, and remember him instead for the many strengths and virtues that defined his life.
Following the tribute, the House adjourned plenary until Wednesday, March 11, 2026, to allow lawmakers honor the memory of the late senator. In a related development, the House also mourned Chamberlain Nnamdi Donkwu, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Legislative to the Speaker. He was appointed the position in June 2023 and was credited with coordinating key legislative operations within the Speaker's office. Speaker Abbas described him as a warm and dedicated professional whose commitment and efficiency earned the respective colleagues and staff. The Speaker prayed for the repose of his soul and extended condolences to his family. The story wasn't different for the Senate, as they also suspended their sitting after reading the president's letter on the floor of the Senate. President Bola Tinubu has formally transmitted the 2026 budget for the Federal Capital Territory to the Senate, alongside requests for approval of several key federal appointments. The communication read on the Senate floor by Senate President Godswill Akpabio confirmed that the proposed FCTA budget aligns with statutory provisions and the federal government's development priorities. Following its presentation, the Senate referred the proposal to the Committee on Rules and Business for legislative review and scheduling.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Please to forward to the Senate for confirmation the nomination of Mr. Taiwo Oyedele as Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. While I hope that this request will receive expeditious consideration of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
In the same session, President Tinubu also sought expedited Senate confirmation for 8 nominees across 4 federal institutions. Among them is tax policy expert Taiwo Oyedele, whose ministerial nomination was sent for accelerated consideration. The request was referred to the Committee of the Whole for action. Other appointees include Mainasara Eloy as Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Anti-Doping Center for a 4-year term, as well as nominations for the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, former Rivers lawmaker Magnus Abe as chairman, with Josie Yaro and Sunday Adebayo proposed as non-executive commissioners.
In line with the Act, the budget proposal has been prepared on the basis of the FCTA's revenue and expenditure forecast. It aligns with the fiscal and developmental policies of the federal government and the Renew Hope agenda. In addition, the budget proposal takes into consideration the 2025-2028 Economic Recovery Growth Plan, as well as key assumptions of the 2026 Appropriation Act of the federal government. The FCTA is prioritizing improvement in healthcare delivery, job creation, youth empowerment, social welfare services, education infrastructure, and increased productivity.
The nominations have now been referred to the relevant Senate committees for review. Meanwhile, plenary was briefly adjourned to honor the late Senator Barry Nada Bingi of Rivers Southeast following National Assembly tradition for departed members. Meanwhile, at Wednesday's sitting, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, called on Nigerians to actively engage their elective representatives and demand accountability, stressing that democracy can only thrive through meaningful citizens' participation in legislative process. Akpabio made the call while delivering his address at the resumption of plenary in the Senate following a brief adjournment that enabled committees to undertake legislative assignments. Describing the Senate as a workshop of solutions rather than merely a platform for political debate, the President of the Senate urged citizens to channel their concerns through democratic institutions by engaging lawmakers directly.
The Senate is not merely a theater of debate, it's a workshop of solutions. Where social media magnifies the noise of the moment, the Senate addresses the substance of the problems. Where the digital arena stays in motion, the legislative process pursues resolutions. Social media must speak to the moment. Representation speaks to the future.
Akpabio acknowledged the growing influence of social media in shaping national conversations, but maintained that legislative procedures remain essential for converting public sentiment into enforceable policy decisions.
I therefore encourage Nigerians everywhere, engage your representatives, bring your concerns to those whom you have entrusted with the responsibility of speaking for you. For it is through the instrumentality of representation that grievances are transformed into policies and concerns into actions. Distinguished brothers and sisters, among the pressing matters before this chamber stands the national budget, that great ledger of national purse, a great purpose in which the hopes of millions are translated into the language of public policies. A budget is more than just figures upon paper, but a declaration of national intention, It tells our citizens where we choose to invest our energies, what priorities we pursue, and what future we seek to build.
He concluded by urging lawmakers to maintain unity despite political differences. Also, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of Professor Taiwo Oyedele as the ministerial nominee of President Bola Tinubu following his screening and consideration by lawmakers who charged him to prioritize economic reforms, improve the ease of doing business, and promote local manufacturing. The confirmation followed deliberations during plenary, where senators examined the nominee's policy direction and readiness to address Nigeria's fiscal challenges, including rising public borrowing and weak capital budget performance. During the session, the Deputy Senate President, Jibrin Barrow, urged Oyedele to take into account the country's vast mineral resources and the persistent underperformance of capital budget implementation in recent years.
What we see every day, we see the Chinese coming to exploit these minerals, take them away to their country. Not only Chinese, other nationals also do the same. But the fact is that when you look at our revenue package, the revenue framework, the revenue profile, you don't see much in terms of revenue coming from solid mineral.
Other lawmakers emphasized the need for policies capable of strengthening domestic industries and reducing dependence on imports. They also urged the nominee to support initiatives that would improve the business environment and prioritize funding for security agencies through first-line charges to enhance national stability. Responding to the concerns raised, Oyedele observed that Nigeria's budget size remained disproportionately small relative to the scale of its economy, stressing the need for deliberate and prudent utilization of public resources. The nominee also addressed concerns over the recent adjustment of capital gains tax, noting that stakeholders had expressed reservations about the increase from 5% to 30%, compared to an average of about 15% globally. Following deliberations, Akpabio put the confirmation to a voice vote, which received overwhelming support from lawmakers, paving the way for Oyedele's appointment.
Rambles around the country helped a lot to douse tension, and your appearances in various fora also assisted to educate Nigerians that it was a good thing for the taxes to be harmonized. And I think it brought down a lot of tension. So now, Mr. President has found it necessary to elevate you beyond being a special advisor to now being a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The confirmation is expected to reinforce the administration's ongoing fiscal and tax reform agenda aimed at improving revenue generation, infrastructure development, and overall economic stability. However, the Senate has passed the 2026 appropriation bill for the Federal Capital Territory Administrative Revenue Fund to finance the operations and developmental plans of the FCT for second reading. Leading the debate on the bill, the Senate leader, Okpeyemi Bamidele, stated that FCT occupied a unique position within the constitutional and administrative architecture of the nation as the seat of the government and the nation's unity. Giving the breakdown of the budget, Senator Bamidele stated that the bill authorized the withdrawal of 2.201 trillion naira from the FCT Statutory Revenue Fund to finance both recurrent and capital expenditure for the 2026 fiscal year. Funding structure.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill is carefully structured to ensure transparency, accountability, and prudent fiscal management. Among its key provisions are: the bill authorizes the withdrawal of 2.201 trillion naira from the FCT Statutory Revenue Fund to finance both recurrent and capital expenditure for the 2026 fiscal year.
Other senators in their contribution lauded the composition of the budget, especially for its focus on infrastructural development, just as they admitted that it focuses on the needs of the residents of the FCT. The Senator, Tokunbo Abiru, however, called for the breakdown of the revenue sources for the funding of the budget.
We are in doubt endowed as a nation. We have solid minerals scattered all over the country. Even my village is gold. Kabo, there's gold in Kabo local government. But the issue is this: we'll not be able to tap the appropriate revenue from our solid mineral, talking about only petroleum and so on and so forth.
As much as we have all of the detailed breakdown of the expense of the expenditure, and I think that this was what happened the last time when we considered the 2025 as well, which is repeating itself, is the fact that this budget doesn't have a breakdown of the sources of revenue that will fund this particular budget.
After its second reading, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, directed the transmission of the bill to the Committee of the FCTA and FCTA Area Council for appropriate action and revert to the committee in the next 1 week.
Your educative rambles around the country helped a lot to douse tension, and your appearances in various fora also assisted to educate Nigerians that it was a good thing for the taxes to be harmonized.
The President of the Senate, on behalf of the Senate, commended the Minister of the FCT for making the country proud with his developmental policies in the Federal Capital Territory and beyond. At the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives of Nigeria has amended the new Electoral Act to prohibit dual membership of political parties. Lawmakers say any politician found belonging to 2 or more political parties will now face a fine of 10 million naira or 2 years imprisonment or both. The amendment comes as political activities gradually build towards the 2027 general election. Weeks after President Bola Tinubu signed the Electoral Act into law, the House reviewed Section 77, which deals with party membership. The lawmakers say the amendment is aimed at preventing double registration and multiple party affiliations by politicians. Acting leader of the House, Sada Soli, says the move is intended to strengthen the exclusivity of political party membership.
14 days, elect in writing one political party to retain membership, because we must guarantee the freedom of association. Then failure to make such election shall render that person ineligible to participate in the primary election of any political party for that electoral cycle. This law must be clear on this process. Otherwise, the lawyers within that 21 days gap, they will stop primary elections of any political parties.
However, the amendment generated mixed reactions from some lawmakers who called for caution.
I submit that this act, we should amend this recommendation to mean that at all material time, a Nigerian must be limited to only one political party.
Is it possible for somebody to go to another political party without my permission to go and register me there, and now turn around to claim that I have registered in 2 political parties? If it is possible, then we might be creating a situation that we may not be able to manage.
I think you cannot, it will be mischief to, as an adult, go and register 2 political parties at the same time. It is wrong, totally wrong, an act of dishonesty. You should belong to one and follow that one through. But you cannot eat your cake and have it.
But the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, dismissed the concerns as the amendment scaled through.
if you have, as a party, submitted your register, and there are about 3 registers or 4 registers where somebody wants to be mischievous, is in Party A, Party B, Party C. What should be his punishment? That is where we are.
Earlier, 5 members of the House announced their defection from the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Their defections were read during plenary by the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, while 4 lawmakers defected to the All Progressives Congress, 1 moved to the Accord Party. The House of Representatives has ordered an investigation into reports that locally fabricated grinding machines used in food preparations may pose serious health risks to Nigerians. The directive followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a lawmaker representing Ekpe Federal Constituency of Lagos State, Wali Raji, during plenary on Thursday. Leading the debate, Raji cited findings by the Federal Institute of Industrial Research warning that contamination during the grinding process could expose users to dangerous heavy metals. He warned that prolonged exposure to such metals could lead to severe health complications, including organ failure and cardiovascular diseases.
The use of grinding machine, the local grinding machine in preparation of food, has been traced to rising cases of kidney organ failure and cardiovascular diseases in Nigeria.
Following the debate, the House mandated its committees on health care services, industry, science and technology, and commerce to jointly investigate the claims and report back within 6 weeks for possible legislative action. Meanwhile, plenary also witnessed a wave of defections as 12 lawmakers announced their movements to new political parties. Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu, read the notices of defection on the floor of the chamber. 3 lawmakers from Anambra State, Victor Afam Ogene, Peter Anikwe, and Lillian Obiageli, moved from the Labour Party to the African Democratic Congress. Also, Peter Uzokwe defected from the Young Progressives Party to the African Democratic Congress, while Omori Osaro joined the ADC from the Labour Party.
Is moving from PDP to APC.
From the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress were Zakaria Yampa, Mohamed Bargaja, James Baka, Kobis Timo, Bitrus Nkwamuti, and Midala Balami. Also defecting was Jesse Onukalusi, who moved from the Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress. The lawmakers attributed the defections to persistent internal crisis within their former parties. The House, however, adjourned to the 31st of March 2026. Let's take a breather here, and on the flip side, we'll bring you more unfolding at the National Assembly. Stay with us. It's good to have you back on the Parliament. Meanwhile, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of Usman Dankengari as non-career ambassador and Ambassador Yusuf Ismail as the Chief Executive Officer of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, as requested by President Bola Tinubu. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Senator Abubakar Bello, while presenting the committee's report to the senators, said the 2 nominees were thoroughly screened and were found suitable for the positions nominated for.
Usman Nansam Dankengari as non-career ambassador and Ambassador Ismail Abba Yusuf as Chairman, CEO of National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. The committee sat down and thoroughly screened the nominees by Mr. President and have found them suitable for the positions of which they were nominated for. Having screened them successfully, Mr. President, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank the Senate, Mr. President, for all the support and cooperation.
The Senate thereafter dissolved into the Committee of the Whole, led by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, where the report of the committee was considered and approved. In another development, at Thursday's sitting, the African Democratic Congress has gained fresh momentum in the Senate following the defection of several opposition lawmakers to the party. The development was confirmed during Thursday's plenary when President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read out letters from the affected senators announcing their movement from their former political platform.
Among those who moved to the ADC are Ireti Kingibe, representing the Federal Capital Territory, Victor Ume of Anambra Central, and Tony Unwoye of Anambra North, all from the Labour Party. Also joining the ADC are Aminu Waziri Tambuwa, representing Sokoto South, Binos Dauda Yare of Adamawa South, Lawal Adamu Usman of Kaduna Central, Mohammed Ogoshi Onawo of Nasarawa South, and Austin Akobundu of Abia Central, all from the People's Democratic Party.
I wish to inform you of my decision to leave the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA. Very truly yours, Senator Eyinaya Abaribe.
However, proceedings took a dramatic turn when Senator Eyinaya Abaribe, representing Abia South, announced his intention to leave the All Progressives Grand Alliance for the ADC.
This September of 2025, and I have the letter here. I can read the letter.
Deputy President of the Senate, Jibrin Barau, immediately raised a constitutional point of order, insisting that lawmakers can only defect if there is a division or crisis within the party that sponsored their election.
Mr. President, this session implies that once you change your party and you are not in conformity with this subsection, then the Senate President will be the one to tell you you are no longer a senator.
Responding to the concern, Abaribe explained that he had been suspended by APGA since September 2025, a situation he said prompted his decision to seek a new political platform.
Therefore, having been sacked from my party, so you're no longer a member if you're sacked.
The explanation triggered further debate as Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele argued that the claim raised constitutional questions regarding the senator's continued stay in the Senate. Bamidele suggested that if Abaribe was no longer a member of the party on whose platform he was elected, his seat could be declared vacant.
Section 68 1B had envisaged the situation that Senator Abaribe is in today.
In his ruling, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, asked Abaribe to reconsider his position and return to the chamber with a clearer stance at the next Senate sitting.
We will give you until our next sitting to reconsider or take a decision.
The Senate, however, adjourned to next week for further legislative business.
And that's the much we can take on this edition of the program. See you when we come your way the next time on the Parliament on Global Television on Channel 365 on DSTV and Channel 276 on Star Times. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG. Thank you to my production team. I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.